Thank you all for coming so early. The bus ride is really long, and you could be on any stage, but you're here with me. Super appreciative of that. So today's topic is about building beyond product, and the reason I wanted to talk about this is because what I've observed in the last 2.5 years of building with Orca is that product is, of course, very important. It is what people are using. It is how you build your brand around. But there is in my opinion, a disproportionate focus on how important the product is for your business. Because whether you like it or not, you are building a business in this space. And I'm here today to talk about the business, and also in that business, the human side of building that starts before the product and extends much beyond. So why am I the person that's talking to you today? My name is KZ. That's my monkey. It's a Gen 3. Is cheap to buy right now if you're interested. I work for Orca, which is Solana's #1 crypto marketplace. If you're interested to learn more about Orca, we have a few Orcas in the audience. Please raise your hands. Yeah, learn more about Orca if you like. My role at Orca has taken many different forms and shapes. I joined as the first business hire. I established Orca's financial and operational infrastructure. I went on to hire many people on the team, and then I went on to lead marketing, community partnerships, and various other things. I've recently started to call myself a full-stack business builder because it's a more relevant and easier term to understand for this current audience. All right, so before Orca, I spent around 10 years building products, services, and consulting teams in various different industries in design, education, regular professional services. And I think I am relatively old for Web3, for my age, but relatively new in Web3 for the past 2.5 years. So I've been able to quickly learn and adapt and take my own knowledge into this new hemisphere. Yeah, and I hope that some of my learnings through observation and through personal experience can be nuggets for you to chew on as you guys build your own protocols. So, as a part of my job, I go onto a lot of Twitter spaces. And then on these Twitter spaces, when we do a round of introduction, people will say, "Hi, I'm so-and-so, and I've been in this space for however many years." Right? And I used to always laugh at this. I'm like, haha, what space? Because it could be DeFi, it could be Web3, it could be crypto. It's a very nebulous term. But then if I extend that analogy a little bit further, it kind of is a space that we're building in because it is going to be growing infinitely. It is as fast as Solana and as slow as US regulations. We think about it all the time. We can't make sense of it. It's very expensive, but we're all a part of it. So just to extend the analogy of space a little bit further, if we're all building in a space together, then each of you guys are building your own galaxies. And what is inside of a galaxy? I asked ChatGPT, and ChatGPT told me that there are 3 portions of a galaxy. There is the galactic center, where the most density of stars lie, and movements within the galactic center will impact the rest of your galaxy. There is the intergalactic ring, where there are small clusters of stars. They're influenced by the gravitational force that's created by the middle of your galaxy. And then you have the outer galactic ring, where a lot of stars kind of are scattered. They are impacted by the gravitational force of your inner galactic center, but they also make unique and unexpected movements. So if we put that into the context of a protocol, the center of your galaxy is your team, the people who you're working with, who are creating, making, or breaking the decisions that makes your product or your protocol. And then the outer layer is your partners. Partners are teams and individuals that could influence your decision or are impacted by your decisions made in the team. And then on the very outer layer, you have users and community. They don't always do what you expect them to do. Sometimes they make unique and interesting decisions, but they are kind of embedded into this galaxy. If you want your protocol to grow, your galaxy to grow, your outer layer is very important. And then putting all that together, this intangible, hard to make out, yet obviously their aura is your brand. So the halo of a galaxy is your brand. So in the interest of time, We only have 20 minutes. I already spent 5. So I will be focusing on the team portion. Because the team is at the core of your protocol. Your team should be a group of people who are highly motivated, highly skilled, and the right fit to build your product. But at the center of a galaxy, you also have the supermassive black hole. So the massive black hole is at the center of every single galaxy. Think about this as challenges or issues that can arise in the middle of your team. So when managed well, a black hole can actually generate new stars or new directions for your galaxy. But when managed poorly, it is very draining in energy, and it could suck away a lot of other efforts that you've put into your team. I'm not the first person that talked about the team as extremely important. Actually, there was a phrase that a friend and a coworker told me. His name is Milan. And he told me that startup companies always die of suicide, not murder. And that is, it's a little bit hard to listen to. But it is true, as in YC's Essential Startup Advice, it is in Paul Graham's personal blog. It talks about the fact that oftentimes when you are a startup, you don't need to worry about competition so much. You want to worry about sustainability and surviving. So a lot of things that are happening that causes a startup to gradually decline or disappear are related to either the actions or the inactions of the team. So today I'm going to talk about how some of these actions or inactions, or let's call it a not so kosher term, suicide attempts of your protocol can be hopefully avoided. And then my recommended way of listening to the next part of the presentation is for you to take photos of what I'm about to put on screen, but for you to maybe listen to me contextualize why I have these questions on screen. Because I only have a few minutes, I wanted to give you as much as possible. So the questions I put on the screen are questions you can take back and use to ask your own team, ask your own protocol. Questions for you to think about and maybe gain new perspectives. But I will be telling you why these questions are important and maybe giving you a few examples of what we did at Orca or like some other references of why they're important. OK, so I will be showing 4 different functions or components of your team. These are not necessarily human, not for individuals, but these are functions that are important to keep your team intact and synergized. So the first one is legal and compliance. I think this goes without saying. We're in a very turbulent legal environment, and a lot of your decisions are impacted by regulations. So the first 2, I think everyone can recognize. If you have a token, where is your issuing entity, where is your operating entity, and how can they be separate? But the moral of thinking about your legal and compliance is that safety comes first. And safety is important not just for your reputational risk, not just for your security, your exploitation risk, but also important for physical risk of the team. So you keep your team safe, then you have safe teams that are building your product, and then you have, hopefully, a safe protocol for other users to use. So safety is at most important. Something that I do want to double-click on is currently, there is a lot of unrest and turbulence that's happening in the world. There are certain countries that do not welcome crypto, and there are certain countries that are at war. And this is impacting our ecosystem today. There are certain projects that are not shipping as fast as they want to because people are getting drafted in Israel, because their team members or founders are being drafted in Russia. Right? These are not things we can predict, but if you are a well-funded team, I would suggest to think about your team's safety and their location and make that an important portion of how you manage your team and you hire your team. And the second part I would think about is your tweets could be quoted in court. So remember that. Your tweets could be quoted in court. You see tweets, you see emails, you see instant messages going around in every single legal proceeding that we're seeing about crypto right now. So think about if you have to talk as if you're talking in front of a courthouse, what are some guidelines that you will put on your team members and your official account on how you would communicate externally? So at Orca, we have a general counsel, and we have put together a set of public communication guidelines. What are some terms we use to refer to ourselves? What are some terms we use to refer to our protocol and our relationship with our protocol? And I would suggest that if you can spend a little bit of money on an outside counsel, I would do that and ask them to set together an external communication guidelines for you and your team, because that could mean more safety, more security for you to build this product. The second function I want to stress is finance and accounting. So safety comes first, and longevity comes second. So many protocols are, we saw in the last year, right? A lot of protocols have run out of runway, they're at the end of their road. It's a very difficult market to be racing. So you want to be thinking about how you can stretch your budget for as long as possible, 3 years, 5 years, right? In order for you to have the ability to survive and maybe just outlive your competitors. So your runway and your burn rate is the basic amount of thinking about finance and accounting. But there's also statements to report. There's a lot of legal actions that are putting against tax laws that you should think about when it comes to reporting. But also, there are internal daily decisions that you want to think about when it comes to budget. So who is making a budget decision? Are you making your budget decision based on a certain type of guideline or a focus of your protocol? So budget should really be a conversation you have with your team leads or with someone who is kind of individually thinking about finance and accounting in your team. And another thing I would say is this is also a pretty large cost as your protocol grows. So the average accounting, crypto-savvy accounting team can be anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000 a month. So because there's a lot of differences in how transactions are recorded on-chain versus how transactions can be recorded in a financial statement. So start logging everything. Start thinking about how you can report, not just for internal purposes, but also for external purposes, because that also means you can live for longer and also be safer, so you can grow your product. So the third part I will talk about is people operations. So when I say people operations, oftentimes everyone will say, oh, hiring, right? Hiring is very important. But hiring is like step 2 of like a really long people operations journey. Step 1 is think about, do you really need to hire for this need? Sometimes having a person does not solve process problems. Having a person does not solve like vision, direction, or external impact problems, right? Throwing money at hiring someone might not be your solution. So first step is thinking about, how do you need this person? And maybe the second step is, what kind of person are you looking for? So there's a few ways to think about it. Are you hiring for high executional skills? Are you hiring for character, right? Someone who is really down to learn, fast learner, really flexible, but maybe doesn't come in with a lot of experience? Are you hiring for someone that has great ideas but can't execute? Are you hiring someone that is a great executional person but is waiting for you to brief them all the time? So ideally, you have a superstar that does just every fucking thing. But that's really hard to find, and they're going to be expensive. And not all of you guys are super well-funded, and we're stretching runway right now, right? So think about what you need at this moment, and think about, is that really a need that can be fulfilled by a person? And what is the essential skill you're looking for in that person? And that's second step. And after that, you have onboarding, which is very important, because we're in a fast-growing environment and there's not a lot of documentation. And maybe for legal reasons, you have to delete your documentation. So how do you onboard that person? How do you make sure they have just as much knowledge and context as the people that joined in day one? And that is very challenging, because sometimes you think, this person just doesn't get it. But it's probably because you didn't give the information to them, so it's not really their fault. So think about onboarding as a very essential part of your HR and people operations journey. And then sometimes people have to go. And it's not really because they did anything wrong, it's because the company or the protocol has taken a different direction. Or maybe you did hire not properly. Letting people go is very difficult. Trust me, I've done it. It really sucks. It sucks for you, it sucks for the person who's on the receiving end. But you have to manage it delicately, because again, we're in the space of crypto Twitter, right? The moment you let someone go, the next moment they could be on Twitter berating you. Even in my close circles, I've seen people impacted by backlash of an employee being let go. or this employee might even go to court and try to ask for something very disproportionate that really shouldn't be asked. So your team members, when you're managing properly, they are your best advocates. You talk about you all the time, like I'm talking about Orca. But when you are handling it poorly, they could really hurt you, slap you in the face, stab you in the back. So people operations are very important. And that's where actually managing expectations, communicating what you need from the person, setting the right KPIs, and if you do have to terminate or roll them off, having the right legal proceedings in place, having a termination plan, having an NDA, those are all very important, but often not talked about parts of managing a startup, a fast-growing startup in a small team. Something else I want to share is right now there aren't that many teams in Solana that have survived for longer than like Orca, for example. Right? We've been around for almost 3 years, and some of the teams are at a smaller and more nascent time. But when you are thinking about building a team, my possibly unpopular opinion is that you don't hire a person and think about keeping them forever and ever and ever. One, because you don't have that much runway, and two, because they're going to want to grow, they want to go places. So when you're coming in, bringing a person in, think about how can they land somewhere better in 2 to 3 years' time? How can you provide them the freedom, the resources, the encouragement, so that they can learn, they can provide the most value for your business, for your protocol, and then they can use that to land somewhere better or maybe build something else that becomes integrated with your protocol. So relationships are never ending just because a contract or a working relationship has ended in one form or another. Think about grooming your people so then they can extend and have that network effect of humans. And the last thing I'll talk about is team culture. I only have 3 minutes. I'm going to brush through this real quick. So team culture, think about it like a retention plan for your hires, and think about a branding play for your hires. So you want really good people that are killer at their skills and are really humble and motivated to work with, right? Those people can probably get jobs anywhere. So where do you keep them? You keep them probably with good salaries, but also with a team culture that they like. They want to work with you. They're comfortable being around you. They feel like they're having a good time. They're working with friends. So building that team culture is not rocket science. Usually, you already have a team culture, regardless of whether you admit it or not. The team culture takes on the personality of the founders. But as you grow the company, there's so many more people's personalities that you have to consider, right? So it might not be just the founders' personalities. You might have to scale back a little bit and look for something that is more inclusive, yet unique to your protocol. I'm running out of time. Find me later if you want some real examples. So I have these 2 slides because the first time when I made this presentation, I actually talked about the other parts of your galaxy. So your partners and your BD partnerships and your builder support, which I would only say is very important for you to have a good relationship and communication between your BD person and your developer relations person. You don't want to hire someone that really knows how to sell, but is selling the wrong thing. So, and then the last part is the user and community layer. Your community should be an extension of the other core functions of your team. It could be an extension of your builder support, an extension of your marketing team, and maybe an extension of your product team, getting user feedback. So if you have a capable community lead, bring them into the conversation very, very early. Have them think about the product design process together. Have them put together a focus group of users, even as you're developing, so you can get real-time feedback. OK, finally, I might be talking about something that is a little bit contradictory to a trustless environment that we're building now. But my maybe unpopular opinion is that trust is everything. We want trust between the team members, so we are sticky and we're building together. We want trust between the team and your partners, so you are interacting and looking out for each other and giving each other good information and support. We want trust between the community and the team and the users. So together, we are thriving together as a community. And through word of mouth, you are getting more users and building a stronger brand and protocol. And we're all here today to put a face behind the name, right? To see who's behind that PFP, because you want to build trust to the individuals that are building with you, that are working with you. You want to know that you're putting your money somewhere behind a team that you can trust and you know who they are. So trust is gravity in the galaxy that you're building. And you guys are all creators of your galaxies or contributions to the Galactic Center. That is an alert telling me that I should be leaving the stage soon, probably. But yeah, so maybe the stars are not aligned in your galaxy today, but try to do something that makes sure everything is orbiting in order and your galaxy is growing. And finally, to those in the audience who are not building your galaxies yet, it doesn't make you any less of a star. So thank you.